The girl in the dust blew across the dry alien ground. The sun above was large and hot, burning everything it touched. The land was silent, broken buildings standing like dead trees. No life moved, no wind sang. Only the weak sound of breathing could be heard, slow, painful breathing. She was lying in the dirt, a small alien girl, thin like bones. Her skin was pale blue, cracked and bleeding. Her arms were scraped, and her legs, they didn't move at all, bent in strange ways. Her body was shaking. She tried to crawl, but her arms gave out. She fell face first into the dust. People passed by, alien traders, guards, soldiers, rich families in hover carts. They all saw her, but none stopped. Some even looked away like she was something dirty. Some laughed. Still alive? One guard muttered. Thought she'd be dead by now. A boy tossed a rock at her. It hit her shoulder. She whimpered. No one cared. But someone was watching. A man. Human. Dirty jacket. Long boots. Backpack over his shoulder. He stood near a ruined wall, silent, still, watching the broken girl in the dust. His name was Callan. He didn't move at first. His eyes just followed her as she tried to lift herself again. She couldn't. Her arms trembled, and she collapsed again. She coughed. Her mouth was dry. Her voice was too weak to call for help. Then Callan stepped forward. The dust crunched under his boots. Some aliens nearby noticed him and frowned. Don't waste time, one said. She's useless. Trash. But Callan ignored them. He walked, slowly, like approaching a scared animal. He crouched beside her. The girl didn't raise her head. Her eyes were shut. Tears had made lines in the dust on her cheeks. Hey, Callan said softly. Can you hear me? Her eyes opened slightly. Faded green, full of fear. I won't hurt you, he said. Her lips moved. She tried to speak. No sound came. Callan gently reached out his hand. She panicked. With the last of her strength, she lifted her arm and tried to claw at him. Her fingers were weak. Her nails cracked. She didn't even touch his skin. Then she fell again, face down, gasping. But Callan didn't. Move away. He took off his jacket and placed it gently over her small body. Her back was cold. The sun was burning, but her body was still cold. Let me help you, he whispered. No. No, she whispered back, finally speaking. Her voice was like wind through broken glass. Don't take me back. Back where? She shook her head weakly. Cage. Callan's hands froze. He looked at her wrists. Chains had once been there. Her ankles, too. Scars told the story. Who had done this? Guard shouted from the distance. You, human, walk away. That girl belongs to the royal sector. She's marked. Callan looked. A burned symbol was on her back, half hidden under dried blood. He turned his head back to her. What's your name? She blinked slowly. Vera. All right, Vera. I'm not leaving you here. You'll be punished, she whispered. They'll hurt you, too. Callan smiled, sad and quiet. Let them try. Carefully, he slid his arms under her body. She didn't weigh much, more bone than flesh. She moaned softly in pain, but he held her like she was made of glass. The guards shouted again, That's a royal mark! She's property! Drop her or face consequences. Callan turned and walked. People gasped. No one had dared disobey the royal sector. But this man, this human, was walking away, carrying their broken property in his arms like a child. Vera's head rested against his chest. She cried silently, her tears soaking into his shirt, not from pain, not from fear, from confusion. She had never been held like this before. And far behind them, in the rising dust, the guards began to call for backup. She thought he was another monster. The cave was quiet. The light from Callan's lantern glowed soft and warm. The shadows on the walls danced slowly as the wind howled outside. Vera lay on a blanket, her small body wrapped in Kalen's coat. Her legs were broken beyond repair, her back bruised, her arms scarred. She had been unconscious for hours. Kalen sat nearby, watching her breathe. He had cleaned her wounds with gentle hands. He had used water from his bottle to wipe her face. He didn't know what species she was, but she was still just a girl, just a child left to rot. When her eyes finally opened, she panicked. She looked around quickly. Her breathing became sharp and fast. She saw the man. She saw the fire. She screamed, "No, please, don't touch me," she shouted, twisting her body in pain, trying to crawl away, her legs dragging uselessly behind her. "Vera, stop, stop," Kalen said, holding his hands up. "You're safe, you're not in danger." But she didn't believe him. Her eyes were wild with fear. "You're one of them," she cried. "You're just being nice now. You'll change later." "I won't," he said quietly. "I'm not like them." She kept crawling backward until she hit the wall. Her body was shaking, her voice was raw. They always start with soft words. Food, warmth, blankets. Then comes the pain. Kalen didn't move closer. He sat where he was and slowly reached into his bag. He pulled out a small packet of dried fruit and placed it near her without getting too close. "I brought this for you. You don't have to eat it," he said. "But I won't stop you." She stared at it, then at him. Her hands trembled as she grabbed the packet, opened it, and ate like she hadn't seen food in weeks. Crumbs fell. She didn't care. Her cheeks puffed as she stuffed more inside. She looked like a starving animal. After a while, her eating slowed. She stared at the fire again. She didn't look at him, but she spoke. "You're human." "Yes." "They said humans don't care about aliens." Kalen smiled sadly. "They're wrong." Silence followed. For a long time. Then she said something that shocked him. "They used to make me crawl to beg. People threw coins, food, but only if I acted like an animal." He didn't say anything. His heart ached, but he didn't want to interrupt her. "They burned my feet so I couldn't walk. They said broken girls don't deserve legs." Tears rolled down her face now. "One day I stopped crying. They called me useless and left me near the waste pit." Kalen's fists clenched, but he stayed calm. "You're not useless," he said. "You're lying," she said flatly. "No. You're alive. You survived all of that. That makes you stronger than anyone I know." She looked at him. Really looked. Like it was the first time she saw his face. "You don't want to sell me?" "No." "You don't want to own me?" "No, Vera." "Then why?" Kalen paused. "Because you deserve better. That's it. That's all." Her lips trembled. She tried to speak but couldn't. She looked away. That night she fell asleep near the fire, curled like a child. Her face was softer. The fear was still there, but something new was coming. Hope. Meanwhile, far away, in a dark room full of gold and wine, an alien prince stared at a screen. "She's alive?" he hissed. "Yes," said a servant. "A human took her. He's hiding." The prince's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Good," he whispered. "Then I'll enjoy killing her twice." Escape with the broken girl. The cave was no longer safe. Kalen stood near the entrance, holding his old rifle. His face was calm, but inside, his mind raced. He had spotted a scout drone in the sky at dawn. Metal wings, silent engine. Royal property. "They found us," he whispered. Vera was still sleeping, curled up under his jacket, her breathing slow but peaceful. She had stopped shaking during the night. For the first time, she had slept without nightmares. Kalen hated what he had to do next. He gently touched her shoulder. "Vera, wake up." Her eyes opened slowly. When she saw him, she didn't flinch this time, but her voice was small. "What is it?" "We have to go. Now." Her body tensed. "They're coming, aren't they?" He nodded. "We'll take the back trail. I have a hover cart. I can't run. I'll carry you." Vera looked at him. her eyes filled with something new. Trust. He lifted her carefully, placing her in a hidden hovercart made of scrap, metal and blankets. It was old but silent, and it had enough power to cross the rocky paths. She held onto the side as they moved fast over the dirt. As they left the cave behind, Vira spoke. "You don't have to keep helping me." Kalen looked back at her. "Yes, I do." "Why?" He smiled. "Because they left you to die. I won't." The path grew narrow and sharp. Large rocks and thick bushes blocked parts of the trail. Callan pushed the cart with both hands, careful, not to let it tip. Dust rose behind them. Then they heard it, a sharp buzzing sound. Mechanical. Fast. Drones. 2 of them. Callan's heart dropped. He turned the cart sharply, moving off the trail and into a thick patch of alien grass. He covered Vira quickly with a heat-proof cloth. "Don't move," he whispered. She didn't. The drones flew low overhead. Their lights scanned the ground. They passed once, then circled back. Callan threw a stone far into the trees. One drone followed the sound. The other hovered close, its scanner locked onto movement. Callan's chest rising and falling. He stood tall, arms out. "Human identified," the drone beeped. "Where is the marked property?" Callan said nothing. Refusal to answer will lead to force. Still, he didn't speak. The drone raised a stun beam. Then Vera made a sound from beneath the cloth. The drone turned, but Callan shot first. The old rifle roared. The blast hit the drone's core. It exploded in the air, sparks flew. The second drone turned back, rushing toward them. "Hold on!" Callan shouted. He jumped into the hovercart behind Vera, started the engine, and it roared to life. The cart sped forward, bouncing over the rocks. The second drone fired a red beam. It missed by inches. Another beam came. This one hit a rock and exploded beside them, throwing dust and fire into the air. Vira screamed and curled up. Callan pulled a smoke grenade from his bag. One pull. Tossed it. Thick white smoke filled the air behind them, hiding them from the drone's sensors. They flew into a narrow tunnel under an old bridge, too small for the drone. The sound of buzzing stopped. They were safe. For now. They slowed. Down deep inside the tunnel. Callan stopped the cart and looked at her. "You okay?" Vera was breathing hard, but she nodded. "You could have left me," she said. "I never will." She looked down. "Why not?" Callan answered with just 2 words. "Because you matter." Her eyes filled with tears. She looked away, hiding her face in her small hands. Far above, in the Sky Palace, the prince slammed his hand on the table. "You let a filthy human escape with my property?" The guard bowed low. "He's smart, trained, possibly ex-military." "I don't care," the prince roared. "I want her back, alive. Bring the human too. I want to watch him bleed." The silent room and the screaming past, the hideout, was quiet. Too quiet. Callan had taken Vera deep into an old station beneath the ground. It was a forgotten place. Dusty walls, cracked lights, broken furniture. But it was safe. No scanners could find them here. No royal drones could scan through this rock. Vera lay on an old cot. Her head rested on a soft pillow for the first time in years. Her body was still weak, but her eyes stayed open. She didn't speak. She just stared at the ceiling. Callan gave her space. He worked nearby, fixing a comm device. He wanted to contact someone from the outer colonies, maybe someone who could help. But something pulled his eyes toward her again. She hadn't moved in over an hour. He walked over slowly and sat beside her. "You haven't eaten," he said gently. She didn't reply. "You're safe here." Still no reply. Then he noticed her fingers. They were shaking. Not from fear. From memory. Callan waited in silence, and finally, she spoke. "I used to sing here." His eyes widened. "You've been in this place before?" She nodded slowly. "Years ago, when I was small, before they hurt me. This was a teaching room for orphaned girls. Callan looked around. He now noticed faded murals on the wall. Flowers, stars, and strange letters. "What happened?" he asked softly. She blinked slowly. "The prince came." Her voice cracked. "He came for the best girl. The one who scored highest on the tests. They said I was chosen, everyone clapped." She let out a small, bitter laugh. "I thought I won a prize." Callan's hands curled into fists. "They took me in a gold ship. Gave me candy. Pretty clothes. Then," her voice dropped to a whisper, "they locked the door. I wasn't allowed outside anymore." She pulled her sleeves up. Scars. They trained me to sit, smile, serve. But I asked questions, so they punished me. I stopped asking. Then I cried, so they punished me more. Her body trembled. One day I tripped and couldn't stand. My leg had broken from the last hit. The prince said, "She's faulty now." They threw me out like garbage. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I wanted to die. Callan didn't speak. He didn't try to stop her. He just listened. And maybe that was the first kindness she had ever known. She turned her head toward him. "But you came." He nodded once. "I don't understand why." He looked at her carefully. "You don't need to understand. Just accept that you matter. And I'm not leaving." She blinked at him, trying to process those words. Then she said something small. "I want to live again." Callan stood and went to his pack. He pulled out something metal. A small exo-support frame. He brought it over and placed it beside her cot. "It's damaged, but I'll fix it. It can help you sit, maybe even stand." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" He smiled. "One step at a time." Vera touched the device gently. "It's more than they ever gave me." That night, while she rested, Callan checked her back again. The branded symbol was clearer now after cleaning, but something was wrong. He scanned it with a small human reader. A hidden royal code glowed red. Callan's eyes narrowed. This isn't just a royal mark. It was a tracking beacon. They had been followed all along. Back in the palace, a royal officer smiled as he watched blinking lights on a black screen. "She's in Sector 9 ruins," he said. They stopped moving, likely hiding underground. The prince laughed. "Send the hunters. I want her back alive, but if the human resists..." His smile turned cruel. "Break him. The prince's property." They came without warning. The ground above the old station shook. Callan's eyes snapped open. He had fallen asleep sitting by the door, rifle resting in his lap. A faint hum filled the air, too quiet for an animal, too steady for wind. Hovercrafts, armed ones. He rushed to Vera's cot. She was already awake, staring at him with wide eyes. "You feel it too?" he asked. She nodded. Her voice trembled. "It's them. They found me." Callan checked his gear. Blaster, smoke grenades, backup battery for the hovercart. Then he looked at Vera. "Can you sit up with the support frame?" "I'll try." With shaky hands, she grabbed the metal exoframe and began pulling herself upright. Callan helped her, carefully. The frame clicked into place around her arms and back. It was heavy, but it supported her enough to sit. "I'm not leaving you," Callan said. "But if they capture us..." "They won't," Vera said, her voice stronger than before. "Not again." Above them, heavy boots landed on stone. Hunters. Callan turned to her. "You were more than a servant to him, weren't you?" Vira looked away. "He wanted me as a pet, a prize, the one he could torture when the others weren't watching. He called me his little broken treasure." Callan's jaw clenched. Footsteps echoed. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They're coming down," Vera whispered. Callan pulled her close. "I'll stall them. You hide, behind the old furnace." "No," she said firmly. "If they take you, I'll still lose." They stared at each other. For the first time, equal. Survivors, not rescuer and rescued. Together, the door exploded inward. Metal flew. Light filled the room. 6 armored figures marched in. Black suits, red visors, silent as death. One of them raised a scanner. Human detected. Lifeform Vira identified. Royal property. Surrender now. Callan stepped forward. She's not property. She's free. They raised their weapons. But then, Vera spoke. Loud, clear. Deactivate tracking beacon. Royal code, X9 Lyra. The lead hunter paused. The red light on her back blinked once, then turned off. The soldiers hesitated. She has command clearance, one whispered. Callan blinked. How did you? Vera looked at him. I memorized every royal code he ever whispered near me. I pretended I was dumb. I never forgot. The hunters seemed confused. Then a voice came through their comms, cold and sharp. Ignore the code. Bring her, and kill the human. Callan raised his rifle ready to fire one, but the hunters moved faster. One grabbed him, slammed him against the wall. His head spun. Another raised a stun rod aiming for his chest. Stop! Vera screamed. They paused. If you kill him, I'll end myself. Right here. I swear it. The room froze. The lead hunter turned. You wouldn't. Vera's hand reached. For a broken piece of glass, Callan groaned, blood dripping from his lip. You think he's just another human? Vera shouted. He's the only reason I want to live, and if he dies, what do you think the prince gets, a silent corpse? The leader lowered the rod. He'll want her alive and obedient. Another muttered. They backed off. But Callan knew this wasn't over. Hours later in chains, Callan and Vera sat inside a dark royal transport. No windows. No light. You could have saved yourself, Callan whispered. Vera looked at him. You already did, she said. Far away, in the prince's palace. He smiled, watching the screen. They're coming back. He turned to his servants. Prepare her old room, and make sure the human sees what happens when someone touches what's mine. His eyes gleamed. But first, let them eat. One last peaceful meal, before the screams. The final stand in the junkyard. The sky over. The junkyard was heavy with smoke. Broken ships, rusted machines. Crushed parts of old warbots lay everywhere. It smelled of metal, oil, and old fire. This was the place where the forgotten went to rot. But inside the twisted maze of wreckage, something moved. A hover transport landed silently. It released 2 prisoners, Callan. Vera. Their hands were bound, but their eyes were full of quiet fire. The guards shoved them forward. Walk, Vera tried, her frame barely supporting her. Every step hurt. Callan walked beside her, his lips still, bruised from the earlier beating. He looked around carefully. He knew this place. He had fought here years ago during the rebellion. Suddenly, the prince's voice echoed from hidden speakers. Welcome back, my little treasure. Vera's body stiffened. You remember this place, don't you? The voice said. This is where we left the others like you. Broken. Lost. Forgotten, Callan growled. Come face us, coward. The prince laughed. Soon. But first, let's play. Without warning, mechanical gates opened. 3 robotic beasts stepped out. Tall, sharp-legged machines once used for riot control. The guards backed away. Let's see if the human will still protect you when his blood spills, the prince whispered. The robots charged. Callan moved, fast, kicking a loose gear from the ground straight into one machine's eye lens. It sparked. He grabbed a metal rod from the ground and swung it with force, knocking one bot down. Vera, stay back, he shouted. I can fight, she said, breathing hard. No. But she didn't listen. She picked up a jagged blade from the ground and used her exoframe to swing it into the back leg of the second robot. Sparks flew. The bot crashed, legs failing. The third robot jumped toward her. Callan screamed, Vera! But just as it leapt, an explosion tore through the air. Boom! The robot exploded mid-jump, hit by a hidden landmine. Smoke and fire filled the sky. Vera fell to the ground. Her blade slipped from her hand. Callan ran to her, held her tight. Are you okay? She nodded weakly. I slowed one down. You did more than that, he whispered. Suddenly the prince's voice returned, this time louder. You ruined my fun. A sleek golden hovercraft descended into the junkyard. The prince stepped out, tall, dressed in shining armor, his face cruel and smug. He walked toward them slowly. Callan helped Vera stand. She held onto his arm, shaking but standing. You don't belong to him, the prince said to her. You belong to me. No, she said. I made you. I broke you and now you crawl back. I walked here, she said, holding her head high. I stood. The prince pulled out a shock whip. Callan stepped in front of her. You'll have to go through me. The prince smiled. Gladly. He struck the whip. Callan blocked it with the rod. Another strike. Another block. Then he lunged forward, hitting the prince hard in the ribs. The whip dropped. They wrestled on the ground. Callan bled, but so did the prince. Vera watched, heart pounding. Then she saw it. The whip. She grabbed it. The prince pushed Callan off and turned. Crack! Vera struck the prince across the face again. Again. He fell to the ground, bleeding, defeated. You never owned me, she said, throwing the whip aside. The guards watched in silence. Then one of them dropped his weapon. Another knelt. Orders? One asked quietly. The lead guard looked at Vera and saluted. Not to him anymore. Later. The sun rose over the junkyard. Vera sat beside Callan, both bandaged, both alive. You did it, Callan said. We did it, she replied. No, you stood, even with broken legs. She smiled softly. I stood because someone finally believed I could. A new life in the Skylands. The wind was soft up here. Clouds moved slow. The sky was bright, painted in orange and blue. Below, the green floating islands of Skylands drifted peacefully in the air. Callan stood on the platform of Dock 7, looking out at the beauty of the human colony above the world. After all the running, hiding, and fighting, it felt like a dream. Behind him, the soft sound of metal footsteps echoed. He turned. Vera was walking toward him. Slowly, step by step. Her legs were still weak, supported by a thin exoframe that wrapped around her thighs and back, but she was walking. She wore a clean gray dress. Her hair, once tangled and dusty, was now brushed and tied gently behind her ears. Her skin was still scarred, but her eyes were full of light. You're standing, Callan whispered, smiling. I wanted you to be the first to see, she replied, her voice quiet but steady. He moved closer. How does it feel? She took another step. Like I'm not broken anymore. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. They stood side by side, looking over the floating city. It had taken days to get here. After defeating the prince, the guards helped them escape the palace. Some of them even joined the rebellion. The human colony in the sky agreed to take them in. Safe land, food, no slavery, no fear. Here, Vera was not property. She was a person. She had her own room. She had soft blankets. She had her first real sleep in years, without nightmares. One morning she found Callan in the mechanic's shed repairing an old hoverbike. Can I help? She asked. He looked up in surprise. You sure? She smiled. I want to learn. I want to build like you. So he gave her a small toolkit, and for the first time her hands were used for creation, not survival. At dinner, other humans greeted her kindly. They didn't stare. They didn't whisper. One child gave her a flower. An older woman handed her fresh bread. You remind me of someone, the woman said gently. Someone brave. Vera held the bread close and nodded. Thank you. But healing wasn't easy. Some nights, she still woke up gasping. Callan would come to her side and sit quietly. I'm here, he'd whisper. It's just a memory. Now. And slowly, the darkness inside her faded. One evening, As they watched the floating sun set beyond the hills of Skylands, Vera spoke. "Why did you stop for me? That day in the dust?" Callan took a moment. "Because no one else did." "That's not the reason," she said. He nodded. "Maybe, because I saw myself in you. I was broken once too." She tilted her head. "But you saved me." He looked at her. "No, Vera. You saved me too." Tears filled her eyes. She looked down at her hands, no longer shaking, no longer chained. "I never thought I'd live to see beauty again." "You are part of it now," he said. Later that week, a ceremony was held. Small, simple, but important. Vera was given official citizenship in Skylands. She stood on her own legs and received a new ID card. Her name printed clear and strong, Vera Cullen. She had chosen his name as her own. When asked why, she replied softly, "Because he gave me a future." That night under the stars, she sat beside him once more. "There are still many broken girls out there," she whispered. "I know," Callan said. "Then we help them." He smiled. "Together?" She nodded. "Always." The stars shone brighter than ever. A girl who was once thrown away now stood tall in the sky. She was no longer a slave, no longer crawling in the dust. She was free, and she had finally found her place. At the edge of the world, beside a man who had given her a second chance in the end.